Yo, what's up, Blackish fam? I hope all is well in your corner of the world. Man, really excited to get into this one. I'm always excited, right? This is one from the comment section. Somebody said, yo, you got to check out Malibu Ken. So we're here. This is a official video to a project called Corn Maze. And it looks like Aesop Rock and a guy named Tobacco are collectively Malibu Ken. At least that's what it says here on the looks like there's an actual official video. Oh, they got something called Tuesday. Looks like there's a couple tracks. So, yo, let's get right into the first one. This is Malibu Ken. I'm going to try to let the official video ride. But man, we got treated on Cycles to Gehenna. They just wouldn't let me post the video. It's actually blocked in the U.S. So everybody that's outside of the U.S. is seeing a different video than if you're in the U.S., where I had to splice together different images so that it can cover the video that was in the background. It took hours to do, but still was well worth it. It was a great song. So I'm really excited to get into this, especially one that sounds like Corn Maze. I'm sure for Aesop, there's a lot that he can do with that. So let's get my ugly mug out of the way and let's dive right into it. Like that sounds very like an arcade game or so.
I'm the world weekly news bat child. Beelining ash powder, ash powder, ash pile. For every ghost climbing out the flat bow. Every gaff, every lone spaz in a snap out. Don't touch.
I like his flow on this. It's different. It sounds like he switches it up, man, from album to album, track to track. But I guess the producers that he works with, he's working with at the time, plays a lot into that. But let's get right into the breakdown.
I'm the world weekly news bat child.
Bat Child, I don't know. For those that are our age, right? Somebody in the comment section said Aesop was born in 1976. So he's 6 years older than me. I'm 40. So he would be 46 right now. Crazy. He definitely doesn't look it. I got more white hair for sure. But anyway, for those that are older, you might remember the weekly digest and the weekly worldly news. It was right at the edge of the aisle when you go to checkout. And they're just these fictional stories, right? Batboy was a fictional character that got really popular in the early 90s. So much so that they even had a movie or some sort of spin-off all about Batboy. I think it was a musical, which is actually quite funny, but it was really popular, and people believe that. You know, I've seen Elvis. Elvis is a Martian. Tupac's in Hawaii. Elvis and Tupac are in a interracial relationship, right? Like, come on now.
I'm the world weekly news bat child.
Kirby, right? That's his cat's name. It was on the box. I wish we could dive more into the videos, but I'm worried about the copyright. But also, it takes away from looking at the lyrics, especially with something like Aesop Rock. It's my first time listening when I go do these, so it's a reaction and a breakdown. So I can't always pay attention to the visuals. I'm looking, but at the same time, I'm trying to understand what he's saying. Like this. This is so beelining ash pile to ash pile to ash pile. It's like, man, a beeline. It's really a combination of a bee, like a honeybee, and the word line. So the idea behind it is that a bee, when it's done feeding, it's always going to take the shortest path back to its hive. It doesn't delay. It doesn't get sidetracked. So saying that you beelining is like you're taking a direct route, right? It goes to like if you guys are familiar with math, the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line, right? It's something similar to that. In fact, I hate doing this and playing devil's advocate, but really, that statement is only partially true. I don't know if it's been disproven, but the shortest distance between 2 points actually depends on the shape or the geometric shape of whatever is in question. Because yes, if the Earth were flat, the quickest distance would be a straight line from, let's say, Illinois to Pennsylvania, right? But that's not the case when you have a sphere, right? Because the shortest distance between 2 points would be known as an arc. It would be something called the Great Circle Distance. That's how you would measure that. But anyway, it sounds like he's talking about beelining, but ash pile to ash pile, it sounds like ashes to ashes. We all fall down. It sounds like he's referring to people dying around him, right? If you listen to it in context, it sounds like he's going from one death to another.
Weekly news bat child. Beelining ash powder, ash powder, ash pile. For every ghost climbing out the flat pile.
Yeah, it sounds like he's talking about death, right? So we can let it ride a bit, but he's saying ash pile to ash pile. It sounds like he's experiencing death around him, or death around every corner, which could be tied in. The name of the song is Corn Maze. So if you think about that, a corn maze, there's a dead end around every corner, right? There's twists and turns, so he might be feeling a bit lost, hence the corn maze. But every turn he makes could be leading to another bad decision or a bad event in his life, or the death of someone in his life.
Lining ash powder, ash powder, ash pile. For every ghost climbing out the flat pile.
Yeah.
Every gaff,
The
every
coal
lone
files.
spaz in a snack owl cracked out.
Ooh.
Climbing out the flat pile. Every gaff, every lone spaz in a snack owl cracked out.
A gaff is like it's a mistake, but it's a little bit more than that. It's like a super embarrassing mistake. It's like you're flipping over the chair, breaking your desk on your first day at work, right? And so someone will pop up and be like, treated, right? It's that sort of thing. And what did he say there?
Ash pile. For every ghost climbing out the flat pile. Every gaff, every lone spaz in a snack owl.
Spaz, that's, man, you gotta love his terminology, right? A spaz is also someone who's kind of a klutz. So it's very similar in that way, but we used to say it in the 90s, more like, man, that dude spazzes out when he drinks, or it's kind of like losing control. It's a bit wild, or what, like we would say today, is wilding out, or man, that dude does the most when he drinks, man. I don't like kicking it with him when he drinks. I believe it's a Latin word, but the Greeks had a word for that too. It was spastikos, right? It literally means spasms, but you use it more in like medical terminology, right? So you might be discussing MS or cerebral palsy or like spastic paralysis. So, but it sounds like it's the same sense. A spaz is someone who's, if you're with your buddy drinking and he's crying about an ex-girlfriend and he's like looking for his phone to call her and he's looking through the house for the phone because if she calls and I don't answer, she's going to think I'm cheating and she's going to cheat and it's all going to be like, bro, you're spazzing out. Calm down. Don't drink and drake, right? You're becoming a little biatch.
Ghost climbing out the flat pile. Every gaff, every lone spaz in a snack owl cracked out. Don't touch that.
Every spaz in the snack aisle.
Out the flat pile. Every gaff, every lone spaz in a snack owl cracked out. Don't touch that dial ever. He's trapped.
Don't touch that dial ever. I get that that old man. Hey, this is my house, my rules. Don't touch the thermostat. It stays at 72. Wear a sweater. Right? If you don't like it, get your own house. But I think he's more talking about the radio dial, right? Like, don't touch that dial. They used to say that back in the 90s as well. It meant don't change the radio frequency. Don't change the station. We'll be back after this message. After these messages, we'll be right back.
Yeah, every lone spaz in a snack owl cracked out. Don't touch that dial ever. These trapdoors forecast quagmire weather, but it's
giggity. I'm sure he's not talking about Quagmire from Family Guy, right? Oh, the fucking somebody's mom, or do the drapes match the carpet? Remember that episode? It sounds like he's talking about the official how you define a quagmire. It's normally a situation that's awkward more than anything, but it could be hazardous, it could be complex, but I think more than anything, it's awkward. So he's saying there's some bad weather kind of on the horizon, but it sounds like this is more of a metaphor, right? If you think about it from like a symbolic point of view, a door is normally looked at as like a symbol of opportunity, right? Or it could be one of imprisonment as well. But a door or a doorway normally symbolizes a transition or a passageway from one place to another. Or it could be, from one world to another in religion and literature and mythology. But it sounds like the way that he's using this corn maze, it sounds like it's more a metaphor for his life, right? He said ashes to ashes, and he's beelining. So it sounds like behind every turn that he makes, there's a bad choice or death or dying of a friend. So if the maze is a metaphor for his life, then the door could be a metaphor for his eyes, right? He could be saying there's hazard coming up, right? There's another dead friend. There's trouble on the horizon, it sounds like.
Don't touch that dial ever. These trapdoors forecast quagmire weather, but it's worth it.
But it's worth it.
Yeah. Snatching victory from out the jaws of imminent defeat.
Yeah, so he's saying it's worth it, right? He literally said it's worth it. So he's talking about his eyes. He sees, he knows trouble's coming. He knows bad things are right around the corner, but it's worth it. Why is it worth it? Because cobras will kiss him on the cheek. There's miracles in the world, right? It's just snatching victory from out the jaws of imminent defeat. So there's miracles that happen. There's things that are worth living for, that are beautiful. And he needs to look past the bad stuff in life, or ashes to ashes, or there's bad things around every corner.
From out the jaws of imminent defeat. The phone ping from a pillow fort in a corn maze.
See, that's interesting. What did he say?
The phone ping from a pillow fort in a corn maze.
So I think what he's saying here, the phone ping, right? So a phone ping, it sounds like now he can be found, or maybe he's found his way. But to what, right? It sounds like he's lost. He's in this corn maze. Maybe the pillow fort, what does that represent? Does that represent his childhood? Does that represent innocence? I would guess a childhood. So, maybe he's moving all these things in life. He's kind of lost himself from the child, or the childlike innocence that he's had. But now the phone is pinging, right? So he's maybe found a way back to himself, or who he was as a child, I would think. When you think about it, a ping, it normally will locate something or verify something, right? You can ping between towers, but you can also ping to establish a connection or to verify a connection is still there. So it definitely sounds like he's using these more like a metaphor.
Worth it. From cobras out to kiss him on the cheek, to snatching victory from out the jaws of imminent defeat. The phone ping from a pillow fort in a corn maze. I don't have a horse in your war games.
I don't have a horse in your war games, right? If you don't have a horse in the race, that means you're not vested in the outcome. You're not part of the war going on, right? You're not part of this debate. You're not part of it. You don't have a dog in the dog fight.
Ping from a pillow fort in a corn maze. I don't have a horse in your war games. I don't even really like horses. I like wild orchids and neighbors with wide orbits. Electric fence and pets that tend to pretty much ignore us.
He said, I don't like being effed with, is what he's saying, right? I like wild orchids, right? Why are the orchids wild? Because you don't have neighbors coming over to mow your side of the lawn, right? My lawn is growing wild, and I like neighbors with wide orbits, right? You think of an orbit, you think of something moving in a circular or elliptical path, right? Around something, like think of a planet or a satellite. But it can also be a kid orbiting around you. But if you think about that, he's saying an orbit, by definition, it doesn't come around too often if it has a wide orbit, right? So he likes neighbors. He likes wild orchids because it's not being maintained. The house is running wild and people aren't overstepping. And he likes wide orbits because neighbors aren't coming around.
I like wild orchids and neighbors with wide orbits. Electric fence and pets that tend to pretty much ignore us.
Electric fence to keep people away, and pets that pretty much ignore us. He likes his quiet, and it's designed that way more than anything.
We headbutt in the mornings, then report to separate corners.
We headbutt in the mornings. So he's saying, like, we touch base, right? We touch base in the morning. Maybe we say hi and say our little meaningless, what's up, man? Hey, how are you? How are the kids, right? But we just go to our separate corners of the world.
Criminy, you're killing me, Smalls. The fist ball.
What do you say?
In the mornings, then report to separate corners. Criminy, you're killing me, Smalls. The fist ball's up. I pull my hood down. I got some walls up.
Ooh. The criminy means the surprise. You're killing me, Smalls. That's a reference to the Sandlot, right? And we've referenced this before in some of his music. The Sandlot, that was a show about the kid named Scotty Smalls, who's the person in You Killing Me Smalls, right? The kid moves into a neighborhood, and these local kids kind of take him under their wing, and he starts teaching him how to play baseball. And the kid doesn't know, like, he's like ignorant about things that are part of their childhood. So I think in the You Killing Me Small scene, they're making s'mores, and they're like, hey, you want one? And the kid's like, some more what? And they're like, and that's when the boy's like, man, you're killing me, Smalls. You know, he's like, damn, you don't know this stuff? You don't know the basics, bro? Like, where'd you come from? Who made you?
This balls up. I pull my hood down. I got some walls up.
Pulls his hood down. He's got some walls up. He doesn't like being messed with. He doesn't like people in his space.
I keep my coat on. I got some walls up. Chicks down, walls up. I cut the lights off.
Think of what he's saying here too. Walls up, right? He's lost. He's in this maze, right? We're thinking of corn maze. The lights off, so it's like he doesn't know where he's going, right? The lights are off, but listen to what he said, right? He said, "I cut the lights off." Yeah, I cut the lights off. So he's designed this maze, right? Or he's designed being this loss. It's by choice. At least that's how it's coming off.
Every day I wake up in a gallon of sweat. Puke blood, hit the shower, turn to Malibu Ken. While you were asking all your lackeys.
It turns to Malibu Ken. I thought him and the tobacco were collectively Malibu Ken. He kind of said it in a way where Malibu Ken is another person. Or is he transforming into this?
A gallon of sweat, puke blood, hit the shower, turn to Malibu Ken.
Like he's turning into a werewolf or something? Is he evolving into this Malibu Ken? I just thought it was what they named them working together, kind of like smoking out the window, right? Bruno Mars and what's his name? But they have their little group, right?
Every day I wake up in a gallon of sweat, puke blood, hit the shower, turn to Malibu Ken. While you were asking all your lackeys, are we jackals or men? I've been a sorcery authority, should catch if they can.
Is that while you were asking all your lackeys, right? Are we jackals or men? There's some similarities there, right? With jackals and also a lackey. It's like a person who is opportunistic, if you would, right? But a lackey is kind of like your collaborator, but it's more like an accomplice. It's kind of like the dude that those guys that broke into the Home Alone house, right? It's like a guy and his lackeys, or I don't know how many there need to be. But also we've heard jackals. He's referenced jackals before. Jackals, and specifically golden jackals, it made a real big impression on Middle Eastern civilization. But they're in a lot of mythology. They're in the Bible several times. And I believe on one of his old tracks that we recently did, he references Anubis, which is a god of ancient Egypt that was a man with the head of a jackal, right? Anubis was actually a deity who looked over the process of mummification. And there was actually a really cool process when kings were being judged by Osiris. Anubis actually put their hearts on one side of a scale and a feather on the other side. And that's kind of the story of Anubis.
You were asking all your lackeys, are we jackals or men? I've been a sorcery authority, should catch if they can. Mostly a master of none. Come try the coffee, it's burnt.
Yeah, it's funny too, because if you think of a human jackal, right, that's somebody who's also doing like kind of send-off work, which is similar to a lackey. So there's definitely a play there on somebody who's like doing these kind of send-off tasks to go like, I don't want to say degrading, but it's kind of going that way. I also like what he said too. He said mostly he's a master of none. Come try the coffee, it's burnt. Like, yo, I can't even do that. But the reference is jack of all trades, master of none. Basically saying like, I know how to do a lot of things, but I'm not perfect at any of them. This actually ties back to, I believe, Shakespeare. Right, because there's actually a much longer version. There typically is. The full phrase is a jack of all trades is a master of none, but oftentimes better than the master of one, right? It's actually a form of a compliment.
Authority should catch if they can. Mostly a master of none. Come try to coffee, it's burnt. He type a chapter, it sucks. Top it, I'm off the end world. Pick a one horse.
Okay, so he's talking about, he said he types a chapter, like he's a writer. You know, is he referencing Shakespeare? I don't know. Moth-eaten world, that can go so many different ways.
He type a chapter, it sucks. Top it, I'm off the end world.
Moth-eaten world or Mothian?
Master of none. Come try to coffee, it's burnt. He type a chapter, it sucks. Top it, I'm off the end world. Pick a one horse.
It almost sounds like he's saying moth-eaten, right? When you describe something as moth-eaten, actually, there's an old poem. Who's that? Suzanne? What is her name? There's a poem about a little girl that's given up for adoption. I believe it's called Moth-Eaten World. The little girl is like given up by someone who can't take care of her, given up for adoption. And it's like her mom trying to find out where she is, or like expressing interest in who she's becoming. But normally when you say something's moth-eaten, you mean that it's not just unattractive, but it's useless, right? It's like tattered. But there's also a biblical reference too, because people say, right, don't store your treasures on earth because there's moth and rust will destroy it. Thieves break in and steal. Save your treasure or what you treasure for heaven, because there's not moths, there's no moths, no rust, and no thieves. Some variation of that.
Horse town, 4 horsemen got. He type a chapter, it sucks. Top it, I'm off the end world. Pick a one horse town, 4 horsemen got his number.
A one-horse town is an insignificant town, right? He's basically saying that it's like a police force not being in a town or having one car, the town sheriff or so, right? It's if you're part of, what did he say, a one-horse town, it's rather insignificant. All right, let's run it back a little bit here.
Every day I wake up in a gallon of sweat. Puke blood, hit the shower, turn to Malibu Ken. While you were asking all your lackeys, are we jackals or men? I've been a sorcery authority, should catch if they can. Mostly a master of none. Come try to coffee, it's burnt. He type a chapter, it sucks. Top it, I'm off the end world.
Ooh.
Pick a one horse town, 4 horsemen.
See, it said, why am I still running on the video? Again, we got to spend some time diving into the videos. There's a lot of, I think, meaning, and it probably ties in with the lyrics. And unfortunately, I find myself, I love when there's lyrics like this, though, because it makes it so much easier to break down.
We got his number. I feed each one the others, camouflaged in fluffernutters. The $1 million free jazz speak in a secret garden. Some people think it's freakish, but they can't deny the harvest. It's funny when they're later made to celebrate the shit they said was garbage. It only
biters, right? People that jump on the bandwagon.
City hood on Marcus, are we Donatello's David or delicate frozen Charlottes? Even David's knowing Arthur often will be no catharsis. The voices in my head still talk tough. I go to bed stoned. I got some walls up.
We will stop, Lord.
In a lavish rabbit hole with no rabbits, young dumb dust
right,
bunnies
naive,
jump in a traffic, casually gussied up and down,
isolated,
sung and savage. Punk, we have come for your cabbage. I'm bad news.
Give me a loot.
Like a rat for your cabinet spaz. 20 poor pads full of scabs, off in a false ad, full plaid all dander. Blast off, black jackdaws on his antlers. We're really fearless neighbors. Someday we'll find a way to make these billionaires obey us. Someday we'll learn a subdivision gaudier than reprobates. You sit around depressed and guess the order of the Tetris rain. Son of surly Satan torn asunder. Private number.
It's important to realize too. I know he says gaudy. He says gaudier, right? But gaudy originally meant deception. It meant to trick someone. But that was way back in like the 1500s.
The Tetris rain with biblical reckoning. Son of surly Satan torn asunder. Private number, public urination.
Torn apart.
Socialize with pundits who encompass all the wrong stuff.
Did he say misreckoning?
Private number, public urination. We socialize with pundits who encompass all the wrong stuff. I count the bread quick. I got some walls up.
That was it anyway. say?
Cut the lights off.
Eating the Lucky Charms or what? I wonder if he has any kids. Does anybody know if he? Well, let's see. By now, man, if you guys are fans of Aesop Rock and enjoy diving into his catalog like this and breaking down the lyrics, man, show some love. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. We'll see you on the next video.